We're ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Let's do it. All right.
Let's kick this pig.
You're listening to a Cult Talk Network podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to the Cult of Campbell. I'm Ty.
I'm Eric.
I'm Ben.
Today, it's summertime, and when you think of summer, you think of tornadoes.
Absolutely.
And we're looking at Bruce Campbell in 1996 tornado movie. Tornado. With an exclamation mark. An unwarranted exclamation mark, in my opinion. But
oh, yeah.
It sets up a lot of shit.
An unwarranted exclamation point, you say? Yes. How dare you, sir? This is fine-class entertainment at its best.
Absolutely. Riveting stuff.
Oh, God.
Written by John Logan, who has...
the most perplexing part of this whole thing.
Yeah. And we'll get to that piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, there's got to be a before Adderall and after Adderall to this.
Yeah.
It was directed by Noel Nosek.
What's he done? Does he have a career that's gone off as John Logan?
There's not even a link for him.
Oh wow!
Because I'm just reading this off of the wiki page real quick, and there is not a link for Porn Noel. This film stars, of course, Bruce Campbell, also Shannon Sturgis, Ernie Hudson,
and Ernie, my man, what are you doing? What was this?
L.Q. Jones. Oh.
Let's see. He's done other stuff. The director, he went on to, he quit directing in 2000.
Oh, did he?
He directed Silent Predators. I just watched that the other day. It's a snake movie written by John Carpenter. It's like super weird.
Really?
Oh.
Super weird.
By John Carpenter.
Yeah, it's like a TV movie from like 99. It's really weird. I had to double check it. It's the John Carpenter wrote it.
Wow.
Well,
but
interesting.
You know, I can't find a budget on this puppy.
$10, $15. They spent all the monies.
Yeah, whatever they spent on those CGI effects they kept reusing in the stock footage. Yeah, I'm not seeing any budget either.
No.
They must have kept that under wraps.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was if what was on the screen.
I found the culprit. Hallmark made it. Hallmark Entertainment.
Oh wow. Well, this was even good on
so much.
This wasn't even good on like Hallmark standards, though.
Let's get.
Yeah, we gotta get into it.
Oh man, yeah. Let's get.
We need to go ahead. We need to just get our next segment so we can discuss this.
We're gonna get right to the middle of this tornado.
Yeah, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and let's get groovy.
Grab your boomstick and fire up the Delta. It's time for a-c-t-i-o-n. Join the Cult of Campbell. Groovy.
And if you're lucky a little later, I'll let you play with my boomstick.
Okay, so
Where
tornado.
to begin?
Where to begin? So, Ben, have you ever watched this movie before?
No.
You haven't?
No. This was definitely my first time, last time, and actually is a partial time watching it. I can't pretend like I spent any real amount of time paying attention to this.
Yeah. This recap's gonna be rough.
Yeah.
I mean,
but then again, like I don't even think if
we're gonna spare you guys a lot.
there's
time.
there was
this movie got spurred us.
there was just this movie just jumped from one exposition dump to another to another to another to another.
This was my first time watching it too, and holy cow! I believe the only one you Ty.
I've watched it. I don't even think I've watched it all the way through, to be honest. Like I have like just vague memories of catching it when I was a kid.
I see.
Because I know I think I got it confused too with there's another like tornado movie from '96. Well, a third '96 tornado movie called
isn't there? What was
Night
that
of the Tornado?
Called?
It's got
Night
Devin Sawa and John Schneider.
Well,
and I think I had those two kind of like mixed up. Yeah.
I thought you were going to bring up another movie which is somewhat similar to
there's no tornado in Maniac Cop 2. So
no, that's not the movie. But wasn't there a little movie that came out around this time within a few days of this one?
What was it?
Tornado movie.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Definitely the one with Bill Paxton.
Oh, the rip-off of Tornado.
Yeah, the rip-off of Tornado, and that would be Twister.
God, this movie literally, there is not a plot point from this movie that it doesn't borrow from Twister. There's not a shot The only shots they didn't take from Twister in this were the ones they simply just couldn't afford.
Yeah, there was no cow.
There was no flying cow.
Right,
No,
but like beyond that, everything about so they didn't bother borrowing anything that involved the tornado, but everything that involved getting to a tornado, they straight ripped off.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Agreed, yeah.
Right down to the plot point of what did they call it in this one? The other one was Dorothy.
Patty.
Yes.
Patty.
So there was
Jesus
Dorothy.
Christ, guys, come on.
So we kick off this movie with this like random scene of this family in a house, and this is our first instance we get that tornadoes in this movie just pop up out of nowhere.
They do, apparently.
There's no warning for them, and before we get that, we get a text exposition dump about global warming. This movie has an agenda.
Watch out for global warming.
Watch out for global warming. Global warming is making tornadoes worse, and hurricanes worse, and floods worse, and droughts worse.
Droughts, yep.
Earthquakes that threw in there.
It's kind of the premise of Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah, basically.
Tomorrow kind of took this and expanded on it.
So they give us that exposition dump, and then we meet this family who their house gets decimated by one of these sporadic, spontaneous tornadoes.
Right.
That cuts us right into we meet Ernie Hudson, who is Dr. What do they call him? Dr.
Joe Branson.
Yeah,
Joe Branson.
JB, Dr. JB.
Yep, and this is where we meet him and we meet Bruce because they're at the airport picking up that stupid.
What's
she's an auditor.
Samantha.
So they have this government auditor who's coming in to assess how they're spending their budget they have,
Right.
And Dr. JB is of course using it to make his pet project.
Yeah.
Patty. The tornado. I forget what it's even called.
You guys have seen Twister. You know exactly what
it's Dorothy. It's straight up Dorothy.
It's Dorothy.
It's such a less interesting Dorothy because Dorothy had the nice visual of like the balls coming out of the
twirling.
Well, ain't got that kind of money.
The Dorothy is like a stationary little thing that just kind of does,
takes measurements.
Nothing cool or cinematic about her, other than they keep harping about these legs. She has explosive legs that's just a fire into the ground, and for some reason he's had problems with them.
Yeah, he can't get the timing right or something like that.
So.
And he says the hardest part about it was naming it. And I was like, I fucking bet it was.
Yeah,
like, trying to find a name that idea
to get
around.
That wasn't Dorothy.
Yeah. Because Dorothy's like the perfect title for it. They should call it Toto or something. Like been super.
That would have been. I mean, at this point, they may as well have.
This was weird because there's so many beats in this movie that are just like straight out of Twister.
Yeah. Oh my god!
But this came about 3 days before Twister, which means they would have been making it around the same time. Right. So they had to have had like a script or something because
they must have. Because Twister definitely was.
But then also it makes you think too, just because some of the shots they use, it almost makes you think they've seen Twister. Because
I would bet they've seen early test screenings.
Because they do those scenes you have in Twister of like the whole gang heading to a Twister. Right. Those driving montage scenes they have in Twister. They do that in this movie, but they only have 2 vehicles. Whereas, they had the whole convoy in Twister. They have 2 vehicles, and it's like shot for shot. They have all the little plugs that they had for Twister of these trucks zooming down back roads and, just
down by the tire well.
Down by the tire well, and the things flying by the camera, all that stuff.
Yep.
But it's so odd.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything like I suspect there's some sort of studio espionage or something like that, like Hallmark sent in agents to
what a weird thing.
Infiltrated there.
I know like one of the more famous examples of that is Ants and Bugs Life.
Oh right,
yeah. Because there's a lot of stuff with Ants and Bugs. That's a pretty interesting story if you ever read about Ants and Bugs. That was like a lot of like studio espionage. And,
is that right?
People giving information and divulging things they shouldn't, all that kind of stuff. It's very interesting, but I just find it hard to believe it take place in this because it's such on a small scale. Like this wasn't a rival studio releasing a movie. No,
this in no way, shape, or form competed with Twister.
Right?
No, other than like trick people who were too cheap to go to the theater and be like, oh, we just stay on watch Hallmark. Hallmark got Tornado. It looks just as good.
Yeah, there you go. Right, they just caught the trend.
There's so many beats. It's mind boggling. Like we were watching it and there were just so many things where it's like, holy shit, that's from Twister. Because they have like an Aunt Meg character.
Right.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
I mean,
who they don't do anything with.
They don't do anything with her, but she's there.
But she's there.
Even got the little dog.
She's there just to be like.
They even decorate. They even had Bruce dress up like him,
like
denim.
Yeah,
with Bill Paxton.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wore the denim and the button down.
And Bruce in this movie, he's not a meteorologist. He is Well, he could have been a meteorologist, but he decided to throw it away so he could be a storm chaser. Yeah. And Dr. JB tells him, he's the smartest guy I ever met. He knew storms like no one else.
Except for when he doesn't.
Except for when he doesn't. Which they don't even develop one either. Like, that was a good point where they could have like really kind of did something interesting with that character.
Right.
Which they do a lot with these characters.
That was
nothing interesting.
That was the one time they decided not to do character exploration.
Yes.
Yeah. So honestly, like, we could take you through the plot of this thing, but basically most of these characters were established pretty well in the first few minutes of meeting them.
Our characters are we're going to knock them out because they introduce them right at the beginning.
They do. Yeah, they lay it all out. So we've got Jake Thorne, who's Bruce Campbell. We've kind of delved into him a little bit.
Like a action movie name.
Yeah, it
for
is.
someone who does nothing.
Yeah. And he's
Thorne.
determined to, to get Dr. Branson's invention in the air, I guess, or locked to the ground.
He's got to prove to Auditor Lady that this works.
Yeah. Yep. And Auditor Lady, that's her whole thing. She's coming in. She's a bit of a fish out of water in this Texas town. And, the first time we see her change into anything after arriving, it's like in this really hokey Texas getup.
And they start at her, those ridiculous cowboy boots, and they slowly pan up the whole length of the outfit as if to be like, look at this stupid shit. And then they just never touch it again.
No, they never touch it. And then, like, she spends the night in it and then changes out of it, and she's back to wearing,
she's in her Hillary
business
special.
Lady. Yeah. I'm, stone cold business lady. It's so weird because when she steps out of the house, they make it a point to say, look at her.
Yeah.
She is dressed like a Texan.
Yeah, she's a regular old Annie Oakley.
Speaking of Texans.
Yep. Speaking of, just in time to meet motherfucking Tex Bolton. Played by Bo Eason is his name.
Oh my God, that probably was his actual
Is he a country singer or something?
He's a former professional American football player.
So he's got brain damage.
That would make a lot of sense. So Tex Bolton is, in my opinion, the most annoying character I've met in a long time. This character is whatever he can do to make himself unlikable. He's like, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it big, because he just is constantly like, how y'all? Like he's a Texan. That's why his name's
Texan
Tex.
that talks like that.
Well, he is the Texan. He is Tex Bolton.
He's
his
a goddamn lines didn't even make sense. Like, they were talking about a tree, and she's like, do you want to go see my tree? He's like, you know what that tree will do? Go out and buy some pancake syrup and some batter and dip it in there and make French fries and waffles, and it'll smother in that strawberry syrup. It'll taste good.
That's what tornado.
What the fuck are you talking about?
That's where he has like a brain aneurysm. He start talking about how the tornado is going to
have fucking breakfast.
Eat the house.
Yeah, like breakfast. Like, what?
It's going to have for breakfast, he says. And like,
but he goes on for like 5 minutes.
I know.
He has this weird little stroke thing. I don't know. It's like he just like. And they either like film it, roll it, we're putting it.
That was gold.
We have to put it in.
We've got runs. So a thing this movie does that we noticed right off the bat was where Twister has, it's set in like within a county, but they like it's a dynamic film. Like they're kind of like trotting across this whole county.
Yeah, they're almost always on the move.
Location. The cars are going. Like it makes you feel like this really big, fast moving adventure is going on. Well, what Tornado does to fix that is they give them a base camp, which is this old farmhouse, and they're like, this is where the movie takes place. We only go out for twisters when a computer beeps at us.
Yeah.
And that's it. So, and throughout the movie, you'll find where they find a location, like we're shooting here for the day, and we're shooting as many scenes as we can.
They just linger in these sets.
They burn 15 minutes up
until they can just milk every single drop out of it.
And they repeat the hell out of their own dialogue.
Yeah,
like, they tell the same stories 4, 5, 6 times. Each character has to retell the stories to a different character.
To like establish that's why we're not really going through this plot, because the plot was just them all getting to know each other with this shit that we already know.
And we found out later, Eric announced, Hallmark did this, and it kind of makes sense. But even like on the basis of Hallmark movies, this wasn't a good Hallmark movie, because like there wasn't even that much like schmaltz in it. It wasn't even like schmaltzy enough to be what you think a Hallmark movie is.
They weren't really interesting characters. I mean, we've got, what was his name? Dick
Cochran.
Dick Cochran.
Yeah.
Richard. They never called him
Cochran.
Dick.
No, they
never
didn't.
referred to him as Dick.
But his name was a goddamn dick joke. He's Richie Cochran. Dick Cock. Come on. And he's kind of this, and so he kind of ties into the Twister.
Yeah, but he's also kind of he's one of the more milder, like, everybody in this is kind of a D-bag.
Yeah.
We were pretty certain he was going to be what's the guy who plays?
I'm not sure what's that?
Carrion Ewig or something like that. Carrie Ewig.
As You Wish.
Yeah, he's from Princess Bride.
Yeah.
But we kind of
Wesley.
We expected him to be that character
parallel.
because he comes in and he's like trying to fuck the auditor.
Yep.
And there's a weird point where like Bruce tells him that they fucked even though they didn't, and
they never touch that again, do they?
Yeah.
They never do, and that was a really weird character choice.
Yeah,
it's
for
like
Bruce
odd
to just
thing.
be like, yeah, hey, she's a little worn out from last night, if you know what I mean. Where really they had just gone out drinking, she went to bed.
Right, but he had made it a point to imply they were fucking, and it was just.
And then the dude fucks off to the weather station, and that's where he stays.
Yeah,
yeah. He takes the lady and Bruce back to the Doppler station just so they can establish, hey, we got to film in a real news station for a day. That was all it was. Like, look at these computers. That was it.
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, we have Bruce as Jack Thorne's grandpa.
Yes.
Played by L.Q. Jones. And he is a wise old cowboy who he don't trust them machines, and he knows the weather.
Right up until he does.
Right. Yeah.
There's a lot of that in this where like people are like, I don't do this until I do.
Except for this new technology, this Patty. But yeah, Grandpa Thorne, he can read the weather with the power of playing chess.
Checkers. It's not complicated enough to be chess.
No. He talks to him and Ernie Hudson had that exchange where he comes up to Ernie. He's like, "You play checkers?" He's like, "Oh, I'm more of a chess man." And he's like, "Well, that's not how the weather works. The weather's like checkers. It zigs and it zags." And I was like, "Okay, that's the way they were writing this character." And sure enough, it zigs and it zags, and he plays a game of checkers. Zigs and
zags and materializes out of nowhere. There's like that random scene where it's like storm maybe came in and wiped out a town.
That happened a couple of times. So they go to this
first
bar.
Time it did, is when they're kind of at the bar, and that's where we get to know a lot of these people. Dick Cochran comes in, and again, yes, a lot of them was
the Dick Cochran. It's where he's introduced. We get to see square dancing Bruce very briefly.
Yeah, very briefly. Not enough of that.
Yeah, when they introduced the scene, I was like, oh, this should be entertaining enough. I'm gonna see Bruce being a down home Texan, at least like boot scooting boogie or something like that. But no, there's
not even that.
We get to see a glimpse of it, and he kind of tries to charm the girl, but doesn't really charm her. But then it cuts to this random couple standing outside the bar making out, and they look off into the distance, and there is like a fucking lightning apocalypse.
And it's coming at him like a bullet from a gun.
Yeah. Just the wind hits him, and there's just lightning just firing off like a machine gun.
And then it cuts.
It cuts to a commercial break. It's a TV movie. It cuts to a commercial break, and then it's morning.
And it's sunshine, and everyone's asleep, sound and safe. We're like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Like, I thought it was going to be kind of that scene from Twister, like the drive-in movie theater scene from Twister, where they all let their guard down. The tornado comes and fucks them up. But no, there's here's this thing. It happened.
I thought they were going to wake up the next day at the farmhouse to find that their bar had been destroyed.
Right.
Yeah. And it's no, we forgot to film that.
No, they just didn't do it. They just got some stormy B-roll, played about 5 seconds of it, and then cut to the next morning. It was just
basically that was it.
Ominous. And you're right. They did that a couple of times throughout. It's just more like, oh, let's drive here and talk about this, and oh, let's go over here and check out this and drive it, and now we'll tease some bad weather, and then cut to the next fucking thing.
They set up these characters just for the sake of putting them in harm's way later. Like they do that with that little girl and her family, that with the treehouse. That was the only point of them going to see them. Was so here's this happy family. Hope nothing bad happens to them.
Yeah.
Something bad happens to them.
Something bad happens to them.
Actually, not even really.
They lose a door.
They lose a door.
Yeah.
And then Grandma Zena, that's what her name was. Aunt Zena or Grandma Zena, whatever her name was.
Yeah. She's the not Meg.
They introduce her like she's going to have this, she's going to be put in peril, and everyone adores her. So it's going to be this big, driving point for the characters. Kind of like in Twister where, Meg gets injured. And that's kind of where they're like, we got to figure out what's with these storms. Yeah. But no, she just kind of, a storm comes and she scurries down into her basement with her dog, and everything's fine. And that happens a few times.
Yeah, that happens a few times too. That's the thing. Like, man, it's hard not to, like, if we were to really, really break this thing down, we would get super repetitive.
Yeah, pretty much it's just talking about the location. So they go, they meet at the farm, they exposit dialogue. Mm-hmm. They go to the bar, they exposit dialogue. Right. They go back to the farm, more
and it's like the same dialogue. 5 stories between the characters. And it's just them telling it in a different, not even a different way, really. It's just to a different person.
So Bruce's character, he was a hopeful star meteorologist. He threw it all away to chase storms.
Yeah.
He just wants to be on the run.
Yeah.
Then the lady, what's her name?
The Terminator.
The Terminator. They call her the Terminator
because she goes in and kills dreams, and she
kills dreams. Yeah, she's an
auditor.
Yeah, she's just the most badass auditor there is, and she doesn't know how to have fun or let her guard down.
Right up until she doesn't.
Right.
Dr. JB is a passionate scientist who just wants his machine to work, but it won't work, and. Then we have, Grandpa
Thorne, who he used to be a storm chaser, right?
He used to be a storm chaser. Became a farmer. His sister got taken by a 3-headed tornado.
That's right.
And he wants revenge.
The Cerberus
tornado. He wants revenge. So that's why he retired, because he just could never catch the one that.
Yeah.
Because they imply like this is the same tornado at some point too.
Like it's some sort of cyclical. I don't know.
Then we have Dick Cock, who's just a douche until he's not. Because at the end he does. He helps him out and saves the town and stuff. And then we have not Ted Raimi, who's just this weird little,
I forgot about
just this guy.
Because we have actually no idea. Besides, they needed just an extra person to read the
literally
screens.
got framed up behind the other actors so many times where you couldn't even see him. It's like, oh yeah, that.
Yeah, they didn't care. They were some nerdy. That's guy. What I mean. He just felt like he was took some money from Ted Raimi.
Another very important character that we're forgetting is Lucy, Tex's girlfriend.
Oh my god. She was so. Anytime you have anyone in the same scene as Tex, they're instantly overpowered because you're just drawn to just your anger is just directed at this annoying prick who's just like making sounds and twirling his hat around and shit. Yeah,
from Texas.
And so she's there. She has the worst job in the movie because she's just there the whole time and you don't even realize her.
Yeah. She's such a nothing character in this. She's there to be asked to marry. They
try at a certain point to make them interesting, and we all got excited, and then they didn't follow through with that.
No.
Yeah, so the first time we get any action is when they go to that false alarm.
Yes.
And that happens a couple times, right? Don't we get a couple false alarms?
We'll start with the first one because it looked like it was going to be a false alarm that time.
That's what we thought.
So there was one false alarm, one failure, and then the success.
Yes. So the false alarm.
That's where we first got all the big traveling stuff.
Yeah, that's when the computer failed. They had all the data and blah, 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 and they still got it all set up, and then it just literally vanished in 6 seconds.
That's right. And we just had the B-roll of the sky clearing away.
Yeah.
It was clearly filmed over the course of hours, and they just hit fast forward.
Yeah. Right. Just zoomed it away. It went from all those white clouds, and they're like, oh shit, so they're all cleared up.
They all get bummed about that. And then, which it's crazy. You have these little plot points like that, the false alarm happens,
and then it's right back into retelling the same stories.
Right.
Then they go back to the farmhouse, and then they all just kind of break off in the little groups and
talk about their backstories some more that we've already heard about.
Right. And it's mind boggling. It was such a drudge to get through. We kept checking the time. That's always
a bad sign.
But it's a good thing for people like watch longs. We had a lot of fun watching it, at least, because it was just fun to shit on this movie. But the bad movies always make the better watch longs.
So
they certainly do.
So what happened with the fuck up? I had to step out from.
So the fuck up. Okay, so they get some data and they're chasing it. And our boy Jake, played by Bruce, he's on the line with, was that the Doppler station, Ty?
Yes.
He's on the line with the people that send out the warnings, and he tells them not to worry about the tornado. He's got a feeling that it's going to veer to the right. I believe it's going to go in this other direction. And so they're like,
he tells them it's not going to hit this town that's nearby.
Yeah.
And the whole time we
did establish the town. There are lots of kids playing in the streets.
They show us kids laughing and playing, and it's a really idyllic place.
And there are some cool shots during this driving scene here.
Oh, yeah.
Some really good debris shots and stuff like that. Some of their practical effects were really good, and then they just some of them.
They do really good on the tight when they keep it tight.
Yeah,
and
it's
really focused on a character or a specific point on the screen. They do really good of making it seem like there's a lot of chaos around. There's things blowing off screen, on screen, and it looks really good. Like it's pretty interesting. But it's when they pull these wides, that's when they don't quite have the budget to support them.
So they get to where they think the tornado is going to kind of end up, or where they can kind of see it, and you can see this tornado. Their poor effects budget.
Guy,
was just like, okay, here's this blurry black triangle in the sky. I guess that's all
basically
we can do. I guess
that is basically it. It's just a blurry triangle that they have, and they kind of drag it across screen.
And so it's going right, and then
I love it because they're all like, it's doing it. And, Tex is like, you're right,
you're right.
It's a Turner.
And then Jake starts going, no. And then it veers to the left, back towards the town that they said not to worry about sounding the alarms. And it hits the town, and it wreaks devastation.
Jack goes to try to warn him. Like, he runs off, and he's like, hey,
call it up.
What does he say? He said a very Bruce line. I need a blast pronto. That's what. It was a Bruce line. It felt like something he would say later on, like in another movie. It'd be like a thing.
The last desperate grasp of Bruce trying to shine through.
It felt like the only time anyone wrote something with him in mind when he was like, I need a blast pronto, but they don't make it in time, and then we get a bunch of footage of this town getting decimated by this, or this street. The street getting decimated by this tornado, and it was comical because there was a kid on roller skates who's getting blown,
trying to flee the wind.
Trying to flee the wind. There's a woman carrying groceries, and the wind catches her and pulls her off, and
there's a kid running after his toy little car on the street. And
oh my God, get him the fuck out of there.
And it was crazy.
The parent goes to get him, and they both trip over the fucking toy and eat pavement.
And they just kept it in there.
They did. They just kept that. That was a fucking mistake. I know it was. But
so they do that, and then we get another fade to black because it's a TV movie. So the commercial break comes in. When it comes back, Jake and crew are at the town where it has been just destroyed, and that was actually pretty decent.
Yeah, that was actually
pretty decent.
The destruction did look really good.
Yeah.
In there, in after the aftermath, the town.
Yeah, that set was actually not bad.
That was a good
everything.
Set. Yeah.
And they certainly used the hell out of it.
They did. Yes, that was another one. Remember what we said? We linger on these sets until every fucking minute of runtime can be just drained from them. But yeah, and they did a good job with the garbage being everywhere, and they had a car mounted kind of up against a tree.
Clearly an old bug they put in a junkyard.
Yeah, it was a beetle. Let's not get carried away.
Right. Yeah, lightweight. But they were definitely proud of it the way they
were. They like to keep that in the shot. So
yeah, they did.
That happens, and this was the point where they could have done something interesting with Jack. They could have made him, he failed the town.
Right.
He went. His instincts were off.
Fuck no, they don't ever touch that motherfucker again.
No, they don't touch on that ever again. And then we get
how many people do you think he's responsible for killing? They just
right. And then after this, we get a random part where Tex and his girlfriend decide they're quitting. Yeah, Tex and Lucy are like, we're quitting. I can't take it. I couldn't take the torture or what people went through and all this. And he's like, I'm gonna quit, and I'm gonna marry Lucy. And the wedding's in 2 weeks. And we thought this is it. They're kill Tex because this is like that old, cop thing where it's like, I'm retiring in 3 days. Hope nothing bad happens.
Right.
We thought, and we got excited. We were all pretty excited to see Tex bite it.
We were happy to see Tex go.
See, you guys were way too optimistic.
I was just hoping. I was like, man, this movie has drug us through shit for so long.
Well, I got to a point where I ended up predicting how things were going to go.
You did.
I just did not want to believe it.
So
yeah, they're like, woohoo, we're getting married. And they're both having the same conversation. Tex is having the conversation with Jake, and Lucy's having a conversation with Samantha. It's like the guys talking and the girls talking.
But it's the same conversation.
It is. That's the problem.
That was the insane part of it. They wrote this dialogue. They duplicated the dialogue.
Yeah.
And they changed out the pronouns.
Characters.
Yeah, they changed the pronouns to he's and hers. And that was it. And but it's happening at the same exact time. Lucy's saying one thing. It cuts back to Tex. He's saying the same thing.
Shit.
Cuts back to Lucy. She's saying something else. Cuts back to Tex. He's saying the same thing she did.
I mean, they very clearly were just padding for time, right?
Yeah.
This was an 89-minute movie.
Yeah.
This was an 89-minute movie. They could have gotten done in a fucking half hour. And it actually, I would have been impressed with something of this caliber in a half hour block They overextended.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they way overextended.
So Tex and Lucy are gone, so we think.
Yeah, they drive off.
And then
they quit.
Jake wanders off, and
That's
like
right.
he's thinking about retiring too, or he's wondering if it's all worth
settle
it.
down and be a farmer.
And the woman is kind of like trying. She's like kind of egging him on, right? Like she tells him like you need to slow down, like you need to do this or that.
Yeah, and she's like, I could lose my job by keeping this thing, open. Like she's kind of, she's got a little bit. She's got more of an arc than kind of anybody else, really.
Yeah,
She's like,
I have absolutely no idea why she's so connected to this project. She's been there for like 4 fucking days.
Yeah,
3.5.
Yeah, exactly. I think what they were trying to imply is that maybe she would like see there's all this passion, but they didn't do that right. Like,
no,
I could see like her being there for like 4 days and be like, "Wow, these people really care about what they're doing. They're doing something good. I'm gonna keep it open." But no, there's like, "Oh, we're all boring characters, and we'll tell you about how boring we are."
Yeah.
And they keep fucking up, and I'm like, why doesn't she shut them down?
Yeah. Why exactly? Because it's not looking good.
Then we get her and Jake end up boning.
Yeah, they go to the barn.
They do it right on top of Grandpa's head.
Right on top of
Grandpa's like walking out the bottom. We can see them up top sitting on the hay, and they
end up doing that, and then
apparently we cut to black.
We cut to black because TV movie.
Yeah.
We come back and Grandpa just like, hey, she's walking by. She's in the house, and he's like, hey, why don't you have a drink with me or whatever? So they sit down, they have a drink, Grandpa and Samantha.
Yes, Samantha.
The Terminator. I'll call her the Terminator.
The Terminator.
Yep. So Samantha and the Terminator and Grandpa have a drink together. And all the while, he tells her the story about how he lost his sister, which is the same exact plot line of X-Files, but with a tornado instead of UFO.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And then they're playing checkers, and she beats him, and she goes off, and he has an epiphany. Like he sees the move she did.
Yeah.
Because you know how strategic checkers is.
Right.
She got past him. So he somehow pulls that to predicting where the next storm is going to be.
Yeah. He goes to look at this chart. And
it all makes sense to him. He's like,
I know that I sat here and watched that fucking scene, and for the life of me, I cannot figure out how in the fuck he actually managed to do that.
No,
because checkers is like the weather. He says it zigs and it zags.
It was just like some weird.
Is that supposed to mean something?
That's the way he said it. That's why he said it. Like with some kind of like epiphany you're supposed to have of like, oh, weather does zig and zag.
Yeah, just
makes
like
0 sense. Makes 0 sense.
Well, geez, I could do better than meteorologists. I know how to play checkers.
He moves this flag on the map, and the next scene it cuts to Ernie Hudson being like, "The storm, we got a satellite feed that's hitting this town." But when I came in this morning, the flag was already in the town.
Somebody had moved.
So I moved it, and like it's not even a suspense because Grandpa just comes and is like, "I did it." Like, you're like, all right,
it was me.
And like, okay.
And they're like, "Whoa,
thanks, Gramps.
All of this information. How did you know?"
All we had to do was play checkers.
All we had to do was play checkers with the woman that just boned my grandson. Just saved a town, motherfucker.
I've never seen a movie hold checkers in such high regard. You think it's like chess. It's like always like chess. Like that's like
it's the prestige.
The prestige, the strategy, and everything. But no, like this is like the checkers is the answer to the weather. That's how you predict the weather.
Because it zigs and it zags.
It zigs and it zags. And then we get like this finale was so underwhelming because we see the all this shit going on. Jake, whatever his name is, Bruce calling meteorologist's office, telling like the storm's hitting here. And they're like, no, it's not hitting here. Oh shit, it is hitting here.
Right.
And then we'll believe you. And we see the storm forming. We get the 3-headed storm. The Cerberus tornado. The family that we saw earlier, they start feeling the storm, so they go in the basement into their little storm shelter.
And if you're wondering which family, so were we.
Yeah,
at that
like
point.
you can't keep track of any of these random nothings.
Tex and his fiance are driving to go ring shopping.
Oh yeah,
and they get stopped in the middle of the road, and he has to stuff her in a storm drain while the truck gets blown away, and it cuts from them.
Just leaves them.
Because we as an audience was to be like,
we're supposed to be invested in
Tex. Then Xena, she starts feeling the storm, so her and her dog just scuffle down to the basement.
She's on the phone with Grandpa Thorne at one point, and she's like talking about her dog, like the dog can smell it.
Oh yeah, the dog can smell it.
And he's like, oh yeah, I can read it in the checkers board. Better get in the basement. Like, what the fuck? What is this?
So they go to the basement. The family goes down to the basement and they're playing like charades, and then the door gets ripped off, and that's it. That's all we see there.
Right, which is just another straight ripoff from Twister, because it's the opening where the mom, dad, and the little girl are in the basement.
But
Only this time,
they're
nothing.
fine. Yeah, they're fine.
In a fucking shocking twist with this movie, nothing happens.
Yeah, they're fine. So then they back at the house at Thorne Ranch, they just pull out the Patty, and they just put her in her front yard because the storm's coming right to them. It's passing right over them.
They just had to wait for that tornado to get to them.
They were chasing the storm. The storm was chasing them the whole time. That was it.
What a beautiful symmetry.
It's going to be
hunters have become the hunted.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like Jaws 4 where the sharks got revenge.
Yeah, it's after Grandpa. It took his sister. Now it's back for him.
Back for him. Yep. And Grandpa's just for most of this climax, he's just standing out in the field watching that storm coming in. He's like, "There's a storm coming. Everyone get to safety."
Of course, they put Patty down, and one of the legs doesn't fire. They can't get it bolted down. The Bruce shoves not Ted Raimi down in the basement.
Yeah.
He shoves Samantha down the basement. She comes back up.
Yeah.
He shoves Dr. JB, Ernie Hudson, down the basement. He stays.
Yeah.
He's trying to get that leg to work. They couldn't get it to work. So Grandpa is like, I'm going to fight the storm.
Yeah, he has a stare off with it. Like it can fucking blink or some shit.
And it tosses a board and smacks him in the head, knocks him out.
And so then they carry him 2 feet to lay next to Patty.
They strap him to Patty with a belt.
Yep.
And then the tornado approaches.
Yep, with Samantha and Grandpa Thorne and Jake Thorne all there with Patty.
Yep. And then they are in the eye of the tornado.
The eye of the tornado. So Samantha is holding on for dear life, and Jake has them strapped on by his belt so that everyone can, and she's lifted about 6 inches off the ground, being pulled away from Jake and holding on by their wet fingers, and she's slowly slipping, and just as their fingers release,
there's nothing.
She's laying on the ground.
It's over.
There's not a breeze,
the middle
nothing
of the tornado. And that is apparently just like the eye of a hurricane.
It's like a huge, it takes up the whole property. The whole property becomes
engulfed
docile.
in this and
they're able to get their wits about them, and
it's not even a small section. It's huge.
It's huge.
It conveniently takes up the entire set.
Yes,
yeah, everything they need is in the eye of the storm. It just stops. It's like, hurry up, get what you're doing.
Yeah, finish up what you're doing. You can get over to the house is fine.
Everything's fine.
The storm shelter's fine.
They have enough time. Get their wits about them. Run back the storm shelter. Then Grandpa stays because he's got to set that fourth leg. The fourth leg needs to be set.
Yeah, and
he stays behind. Does that? Jake watches as he's trying to hold it down. Then we get a blur or something like that happens.
The mist and
the mist
wind
comes,
and stuff.
And Grandpa's gone. And Patty's still there though. He set the leg,
which we all knew that they weren't going to show.
Yeah,
right.
So Patty survived.
Yep,
it got the readings they needed, and then we cut to all of our characters being alive.
Yep.
Police car pulls up with Tex, which was the most disappointing point of this whole movie.
Oh.
That was
about blew a gasket.
He did.
I did blow a gasket.
I just don't if it was strong enough to I know that if wind can get under you, it can lift you even though you're lighter, but if it can't get under you even though you're lighter, it can lift something that's heavier. So it gets under the truck and blows away. However, I still don't believe that it can just fucking toss a truck like that. Because it wasn't moving it. It was garbage flipping
end over end.
But the fact that he's just no, if we hunch down in this dip in the road,
be fine.
It's all good, brother.
They survived.
Why does anybody die from a tornado if it's that fucking easy?
Right. Seriously.
They survived. The family survived.
Yep.
Xena survived.
Yeah.
Everybody's A-okay. It's a happy ending. They wrap everything. They have a funeral for Grandpa.
For Grandpa Thorne. That's all, and everyone gets to pay their respects.
Yep. For this character, we had zero investment in. And they in the movie with, I think Jake gets a job as a big meteorologist thing. He gets some kind of job from JB.
Right. That's
JB
right.
tells him he got a big offer, and he's like, I'll take it. And,
yep.
He's going to go and take care of. He's going to stop the storms.
Yeah.
And then we end with another text exposition dump of every day storms getting worse and worse, happening more and more frequently, and early warnings are last line of defense. Yeah. And that's what it ends on.
Yep.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was 1996's Tornado with an exclamation mark. An unwarranted exclamation mark.
An unwarranted.
They should have called it exposition.
Yeah.
I think we've talked enough about Tornado.
I think you're right.
I think we've
broken it
covered
down
the
enough.
Let's
high
go ahead
points.
and let's go and talk about what we're all here for. The quality of Campbell.
Good. Bad. I'm the guy with the gun.
All right.
Okay.
That was Tornado.
Wasn't that fun?
That was
yes.
yeah, I'm sure it was just about as much fun as listening to us talk about it. That's as much fun as it was.
Like,
watching the
yeah,
movie.
guys, if you're
Yeah.
like, boy, this podcast is dragging on. Yes.
Watch Tornado.
I bought Tornado. You can't even rent it on Amazon. You have to buy it. I bought it for $7.99.
That's because they're like, nobody's going to rent this. thing.
Yeah, I was hoping it just seemed like one of those movies that'd be on Tubi, but it was.
However, I do feel the need to point out we
Mm.
still made it. It's still better than Minnows Mind.
Still better than
Yeah,
Minnows Mind.
yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah.
You got to look at it glass half full. Kind
You're
of, I
right.
guess.
We made
you're
it.
right.
We made it through Tornado.
Yeah,
we didn't
that
make
is-
it. We did not make it through Minnows
No,
Mind.
we
No.
didn't. Calder Campbell collapsed in chaos that day.
Yes. What about the quality? What about Jake Thorne, Bruce Campbell in this movie?
Okay. So
What do you think about him, Eric?
okay. Well, let's talk about his chemistry with the other characters.
What chemistry with the other characters?
There we go. We've touched on his chemistry with the other characters.
There was zero chemistry between any characters. in
Not
this.
even
There
Ernie
wasn't.
Hudson, who's an amazing actor.
Yeah.
And so is Bruce. You think the two of them together, but they had like
Well, there
no
was-
scenes
They
together.
didn't have any
That-
scenes
that's
together.
the,
You're
that's
right.
the thing. There was no
If they
bad actors in this. There wasn't any character you looked at and was like, oh my God, it's
Tex.
terrible job.
Tex
Tex,
was
God.
bad. Tex was bad.
But like as far
But
as
you're
our,
right,
our,
overall.
our we had LQ Jones, we had Ernie Hudson, we had Bruce Campbell, and we had the lady
Yeah.
Samantha. She's a big name. I remember. Like she's in stuff.
She is. Yeah. What? Oh, I just had that up. So she's Shannon Sturges.
'Cause she got like top billing in this.
She did.
She did, really?
Yeah, the poster doesn't even have Bruce on it. The poster says
Right.
her and LQ Jones on it.
Hey, what about fucking Ernie Hudson, you fucking
Right.
rat bastards?
Yeah. Seriously. Now, and he, I think he really tried. I think Ernie really tried.
I think they all tried. I mean, like we've seen Lazy Bruce, and this
Yeah.
wasn't Lazy Bruce. There was just nothing. Like he did what he could with what he had.
He just didn't have a soul to the character.
Yeah, there was nothing there.
Because one thing I noticed in that breakdown is like, man, we barely touched on him because he was such a nothing character.
Yeah, he didn't. I
He
mean,
didn't have much of a drive. Like he had a basic drive of
Like,
like,
when we're
we have to
introduced-
protect the people.
When we're introduced to him, he's like packing around bags and stuff. I thought he
Yeah.
was just gonna be like a hot shot photographer or something. That's what I thought he was gonna be.
Yeah, I mean, the best interaction to me that he had in this was with Dick Richie Cochran
Yeah.
or whatever that
And
was.
they're button heads.
And yeah, when they were butting heads towards the beginning, that was kind of the best his character was, or at least the most
Right.
interesting to watch, I think.
Because they had a few chances to kind of develop on him, and they just did not go
No.
for it.
oh, yeah, they
No.
didn't touch him at all.
Like
Really.
not in any way of him
the
being a
big
villain.
fuck up should have been a big turning point for his character, where he's like, I've got to stop this,
Mhm.
this storm. We got to figure out what's going on. We got to figure out how to predict these things.
But instead,
right.
I mean, he has just several morally questionable, not even morally questionable. He's just like, what the fuck?
yeah, like where he tells Dick Cock that him and that girl fucked. It's like that's kind of a dick thing to do. Like
Right.
it's like you're
to imply,
imply
this-
you've had sex with this girl. Like
Mhm. that she's like, he's like kind of approaching her in a professional manner too,
Right.
So it's not just like he's
Yeah,
inviting
what
her
if-
to the news
yeah, all
station.
Dick
and shit.
Cock had to do was like say, hey, he said you guys fucked, and like she'd be like, oh, this place is fucking closed.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, really. That's the
this is
auditor
over. Yeah,
for your
it's
fucking
over.
Patty Grant.
So
goddamn bullshit.
I mean,
It's like, you can't even.
I've got to say, like this right here, like it was just Bruce was just there. That was the problem. He was just
Yeah.
there. Like
Yeah,
the having him here helped the movie.
right.
Just because you did get those like gleaming, lights of Bruce in it at certain
Yeah.
points, because like, he wasn't terrible in it. He just wasn't there. I think that was the problem.
I would basically call him not present.
Right.
Yeah.
But
He
when
did
he
what
was
he could.
there, because there was a couple times when you would see like Bruce kind of beam through, and those were enjoyable because I think without him, this movie would have been way more of a boring ass mess than it was.
Yeah,
Which isn't saying much because I don't think he even did a good job at saving it. Like he didn't save this movie by any means, but just having him here was at least something to be here for. Like you at least got to see Bruce. I mean, I don't know,
right.
but it just felt like it was unwarranted. Like this really didn't need to be a Bruce role. I guess. You could have done him like
No, it could have been Denim Guy number 2.
Denim Guy. Yeah, the Denim Bruce was not the Bruce for me. But
Yeah,
what do you think, Ben? What was you? What did you say about Bruce and Tornado?
I say that they could have got a cardboard cutout of Bruce and would have gotten practically the same effect.
Yeah, I don't think that's probably not
I mean,
completely untrue.
you,
As far as how dreary this movie was.
Yeah, like he didn't have any chemistry whatsoever.
No.
He didn't have any lines that stood out.
And I totally felt like
whatsoever.
him and Samantha hooking up, what just felt like it was just totally undeserved. It was 4 days they had together, and like
it was because they were in Texas and there wasn't shit else to do.
That's basically it. She was disappointed that they couldn't find tornadoes, and she's like, "Well, fuck it, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna get something."
Like, I'll show her a goddamn twister.
Yeah, there you go. But no, I was not a fan of Bruce in this. So
no,
you want to rate it?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get to the rating. I wonder what it would be.
Shocker, stay tuned.
Fear.
No,
All right.
Because I'm usually the Bruce guy, but no, one thing that this show has really taught me, Tex Campbell, as much as I love Bruce, he can't always save everything.
No,
he can't.
He can't save us all. He can't save it all.
that chin is only so broad.
It is. When he's on it, he's fucking on it. But when he's off it, he is off it.
Well, they gotta let him fucking do it, and it's just like,
and that's the thing. I feel like a lot of Bruce's shortcomings were really with the script, with the direction, you know what I mean? Like, I really don't think.
No, like I said, his acting wasn't bad. We've seen bad acting Bruce. We've seen Bruce where he just doesn't give a shit. He just phones it in.
Yeah,
we've seen that before. I didn't feel like he was phoning it in. I just felt like he was doing the best what he had. He just did not have
They didn't have anything
because there wasn't any points where you could tell he was being lazy with his lines. He was delivering everything the way he should.
Yeah.
They just were not good lines. They weren't good. It wasn't a good plot.
It just wasn't a good.
So
character.
I mean, for that, I've got to despite his
and I think
effort,
this supports our theory that it was shot very quickly because they didn't have time to.
Yeah, you can tell out the set. So for all in all, Bruce's effort, he did his best in this. I feel with what he had. But I'm going to have to go ahead and give it a not groovy.
Okay, not groovy.
Yeah, that's my verdict.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with not groovy. There's just nothing in this that I'm like, man, they had Bruce nailed right there. I was just like, could have been Joe Schmo doing that line. Any guy in denim would do. Not groovy.
Any guy in denim would do.
Not groovy. Across, no way.
So I'm a little bit torn because I don't want to be too biased because of how awful the movie was.
Right.
Bruce. And, and of course his performance was great with what he had to work with. And part of what makes Bruce is, doing those kind of, those movies that have the potential for a cult following because they may not may not have done as well as some other blockbusters in the day.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of,
yeah, that's one way of putting it.
Yeah. But it was kind of just, man, I hate to do it. I am gonna have to give it a not groovy. I don't think,
Dude,
but I don't think
awful.
it's anything that he did wrong.
It wasn't. It wasn't quality Bruce. It wasn't quality Campbell.
He didn't get his chance to shine.
No,
he didn't get his one-liners to play off of. He didn't get any good chemistry. Now there is one thing maybe I could hold against Bruce here is that his chemistry with the other characters I've seen him with better chemistry with other characters in worse movies.
Right.
Yes. And somehow so maybe there, but then again, he's got nothing to find in himself for that.
No,
there's just nothing to drive that character in a real way. That's not superficial. Man, that's hard though. I really, because this is the first time I've given a not groovy that I just feel like it just totally was out of Bruce's hands.
Yeah,
I feel.
Yeah,
really
I would
bad
agree.
about
Max.
that.
I think we kind of touched on that. It's like he wasn't acting bad. He wasn't like flubbing his lines or phoning it in. It's just he did the best what he had, and it wasn't
anything.
It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. Despite his best effort, this is not good Bruce. Maybe he stuck a little too close to the script. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe he was playing it too safe.
Maybe.
I think that might be.
I simply think they just tried to film this as quickly as they could.
Oh yeah,
and nobody got to know each other.
I'm sure it was a decent payday. I bet he got a decent little payday out of it.
Yeah, I'll bet you're right. Like,
but that's us talking about Tornado. One of the many 1996 tornado movies that came out.
Just a whirlwind of them.
So was Twister that successful to warrant all these spinoffs?
I mean,
it's a good film, but I think that's more in hindsight.
Right.
Well, this came out before Twister.
Yeah, Tornado didn't have the time to figure that out.
No, Twister came out, been a huge flop.
But they knew that they had big names, so at least
they at least built their names.
Right?
They do that in the box.
The cast would be there.
Fucking, I guess. Jesus.
Well, and I'm not talking about Tornado's big names. I'm talking about Twisters.
Oh, okay.
So they at least knew that
they knew they had Laura Dern.
Yeah.
Just coming off of or not Laura Dern. Laura Dern isn't
that was
Helen Hunt.
Helen Hunt. Yeah, Helen Hunt and Bruce, Bill Paxton. So they knew they had their names.
Yeah, Tornado
and it had a lot of hype behind it too.
Tornado was just definitely a gamble, and I wonder if it paid off I
I
wonder
don't
if
know.
they made
There's no
profit.
box office. There's no budget on there,
yeah.
so I mean, it's hard to tell. But
Couldn't find it.
I can't.
I'm
I
gonna
know
say
it's not.
no.
I know it's not held in like any cult status or anything like that. And
No.
rightfully so. Because I mean, like Bruce can take a bad movie and elevate it to cult status when he wants to, when he's able to.
Absolutely.
And I don't think this happened with Tornado. So
No.
Hell no.
And I think that is kind of what. Yeah, I think that at the end of the day is why this is not not groovy, is because Bruce just couldn't save it.
he couldn't.
I don't know.
Despite his best effort, he just couldn't save it.
I don't even know it was his best. I think he was checked out of this film.
Yeah, I don't think he had a chance to give it his best effort. Even he just
Nope, right.
I think you guys kind of are probably right. The production was probably too fast to really dig into anything.
I guarantee that's what it was. It was just like speeding through this thing.
Yeah,
So,
because being an actor is like it's not always something you can just switch on and off. You have to spend
Right.
time with that character.
And not to mention the chemistry with the actors comes from being around the actors.
yeah,
that
and that's the thing
building some
too.
rapport.
Because with this, you really needed to have that chemistry because
It was
they
so
were
dependent
the
on the
characters
inner-
were these characters working within each other. It was
Yeah.
more focused on the characters than it was the
Like,
actual tornado.
right.
aspect
How
of
many
things.
actual scenes did him and the guy that was supposed to be his dad have together? Not many.
Not many. No,
Not many. No, not
he-
enough to really establish that.
No, not.
I wouldn't know they were grandson and grandpa
It
unless
took-
he didn't call him
Oh yeah,
grandpa.
grandpa.
Right.
See, I was saying dad. Fuck,
Yeah, it took us
hell.
about halfway through the movie or more to figure that out,
Yeah.
really, because it was just kind of like forgotten about, buried under all the other exposition.
So I
just,
think that's probably enough for us to talk
Yeah.
about Tornado.
yeah.
Time to hit that old dusty trail.
Time to blow on out of here.
Blow on out of here.
So,
ladies
we
and
gotta
gentlemen,
spice this up with something.
Let us know what you think of Tornado. I'm sure most people have seen it. 'Cause I know USA played this thing a lot back in the day.
You're sure most people have seen this? I don't think so.
I feel like a lot of our audience has probably seen it. I'd like to know what they think of Tornado.
Yeah, am I right or is Ty right? I'm betting.
Yeah, let me know if
nobody's
you've
this
seen it,
fucking
and if
thing.
not, don't waste the $8 like I did and buy it on Amazon Prime because it's not worth it.
Yeah.
I will never watch this movie again, and
No, never.
not. It's not even one of those movies I'd throw on like to have in the background because it's not even entertaining
It's not.
enough for that. Not
Definitely
colorful enough for that. But that was it. Let's talk about Tornado with an exclamation mark. 1996. Bruce Campbell, LQ Jones, Ernie Hudson, and what was the lady's name?
We had Shannon Sturgis.
Shannon Sturgis.
There
Yeah.
we go.
And let us know what you think. And should Tex have died? I mean,
I think Tex should
would
have
this movie
died.
been better if Tex would have died?
This movie would have been much better if Tex
If he would,
died.
that would have been a lot more satisfying.
It would have been.
That would
Yeah.
at least been something. To
Yeah,
look
That
forward
truck
to.
satisfying
had
is
just
a good word
rolled
for
right
it.
over him, and all we saw was that smashed cowboy hat.
Oh
fluttering
yeah,
in the wind.
that would have been great.
God damn it!
Man,
I
they really
want that
missed.
so
They
bad.
missed the mark there. They
Yeah.
could have done something, at least one good thing.
Yeah,
'Cause it did feel like at a certain point you're like poking the movie with a stick, just be like, do something. Like,
yeah.
Oh my god!
Come
yeah, do
on.
a trick.
yeah, do something.
anything. Yeah.
Earn that exclamation mark you have in your title.
They're like, here's 5 seconds of lightning flashes.
Yeah.
and back to the Hallmark shit.
Here's Ernie Hudson watching tornadoes on a TV.
We got more footage of tornadoes on their TVs than we did on ours.
Yeah.
They were better looking. I can't believe they did those tornado
They
effects
did.
next
yeah.
to footage of real tornadoes in the same movie and thought like, this is cool.
Yeah,
This'll
this is
work.
it. This
Yeah.
works.
It
So
happened in 1960.
All right, guys, let's wrap this shit up.
1996.
make sure you follow us on all our social medias: Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, TikTok, all at Cult Talk Net. Let us know what you think of Tornado. Is it groovy? Is it not groovy? What's your favorite moment if you have one from Tornado? I'd be very interested to hear if anyone has a favorite
Ooh.
moment from Tornado.
Yeah.
If you can remember anything from Tornado. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I think we just need to let you all know, remind you, stay groovy.
groovy.
Never fuck with the king. That's it? That's the best you got?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.